How are we doing, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Getting Jilly. I'm Will, and today we're looking at the People's Buzz, Community Buzz, basically the top 10 games that have moved up in the rankings on Pub Meeple between January and February of this year. So, as a reminder, this is just a momentum list. It's not the top 10 that, of course, we have in a future episode. These games are what the community is actively logging and playing through Pub Meeple. The popularity may be either due to it being a new expansion or a Kickstarter fulfillment or simply a surge of word of mouth, and these games are what's capturing the hobby's attention this month. So let's get into the list. At number 10, we have Wondrous Creatures. This is a vibrant 1 to 4 player worker placement game and tableau building game. Players act as explorers utilizing specialized magnetic workers on a hexagonal map. Placing a worker allows you to gather resources and capture unique creatures. The core experience lies in the tableau building. Each creature you add to your player area grants passive abilities or maybe a one-time effect, allowing you to build a highly efficient economic engine as the game progresses. Why the buzz? Well, a new crowdfunding campaign for the upcoming expansion is about to launch. Players are bringing their original copies back to the table to refamiliarize themselves with the system before, deciding if they want to back that new content. Coming in at number 9 is Clank Catacombs. So this entry takes the established deck building and push your luck mechanic of the Clank franchise and introduces a modular tile laying board. Instead of navigating a static map, players reveal dungeon tile by tile as they explore. You draft cards to generate movement, combat, power, skills, different things, trying to get the most expensive artifact and escape. The hook is the unpredictability of the layout and the ever-present threat of drawing your colored cube from the dragon's bag when you make too much noise. Why the buzz? The recently released Underworld expansion has hit retail. The addition of new tiles, monsters, and a secondary currency has prompted the community to shuffle up their decks and explore these new mechanics. Coming in at number 8 is Kanban EV. This is a game designed by Vital Lacerda. This is a heavy, highly interconnected worker placement game focused on industrial optimization. Players navigate an electric vehicle manufacturing plant, managing everything from acquiring raw materials and testing designs to, assembling the cars themselves. The defining tension comes from Sandra. She's the factory manager. She acts as a built-in timer and aggressively penalizes players who fail to meet their efficiency quotas. Why the buzz? The Deluxe Edition reprint campaign has started to begin fulfillment. Thousands of backers are receiving their copies and logging their initial plays, causing a massive spike in the game's overall visibility and play count. At number 7, we have Concordia Venus. This is a definitive Euro game centered around hand management and network building in an ancient Mediterranean. Players begin with identical hands of cards, playing one per turn to move colonists, produce goods, or purchase new cards for their deck. The strategic depth comes in the timing of your actions, as you must spend an entire turn to pick up your discard pile. This specific version also introduces a highly regarded team play mode, adding a layer of silent coordination to the established formula. Why the buzz? After being notoriously difficult to find in the later half of 2025, a major retailer's stock has finally reached the online storefronts, allowing a wave of new players to secure their copies. At number 6, we have Mage Knight the Ultimate Edition. This is a sprawling, complex adventure game that blends a deep deck building and a traditional resource management and, overland exploration. Players control powerful characters moving across the modular map to conquer cities and recruit followers. Combat is completely deterministic. There's no dice involved. Instead, you must carefully calculate your hand of cards, mana, and the unit abilities to solve a mathematical problem of defeating your enemies. Why the buzz? The announcement of a new expansion, as well as a standalone game, has revitalized the player base. The community is actively replaying the core box, brushing up on the extensive rule set to get ready for the new release. Coming in at number 5, we have Cyclades Legendary Edition. This is an aggressive area control bidding game set in ancient Greece. To take any meaningful action on the board, such as moving troops, building fleets, or summoning mythological creatures, players must first win the favor of specific gods through a tense auction system. The economy is tight, and turn order is critical, meaning a single outbid can completely dismantle a carefully planned military maneuver. Why all the buzz? Fulfillment of this modernized edition is currently landing. The updated rule set, which streamlines the original game's pacing and refines the map mechanics, is receiving exceptionally high praise in these early reviews. At number 4, we have Unmatched. This is a fast-paced, asymmetric miniature skirmish game utilizing unique character-specific decks. The roster spans public domain literature, mythology, and even licensed properties like Marvel and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The combat system uses double-blind card resolution, where players simultaneously reveal attack and defense cards. The gameplay heavily relies on tactical positioning, hand management, and successfully predicting and baiting your opponent's cards into play. The publisher has recently announced a slate of highly anticipated crossover sets for 2026. The surge of news has reignited community engagement, with players pulling out their existing fighters to run tournaments and test new matchups. At number 3, we have Wild Venture. This is a 2-player nature-themed engine-building card game. Players recruit villagers and craft gear to navigate a modular trail and score points. The defining mechanic is that your engine is inherently temporary. Gear and villagers wear out after a set of number of uses, and you only secure victory points once they are fully exhausted. This forces players to constantly pivot and rebuild their strategy throughout the game. Why all the buzz? This indie release has become a massive sleeper hit purely through word of mouth. Positive reception at recent conventions has translated into a significant surge in plays and ratings from the wider community. Sitting at number 2, we have Gaia Project. This is an ultra-heavy deterministic scientific fiction game where players lead distinct asymmetric factions expanding across the galaxy. Because each race requires a very specific planetary environment, players must manage a complex economy to terraform worlds before they colonize them. This is a zero-luck game system. No dice, no card draws. Success relies entirely on a long-term strategic plan, managing power cycles, and advancing the research tracks more efficiently than your opponents. Why all the buzz? The long-awaited Lost Fleet expansion is finally delivering to players. By introducing new factions and altering the board structure with derelict ships and asteroids, it has fundamentally changed the game's established meta, driving a massive spike in engagement. And here we are at number 1, which is Darwin's Journey. This is a robust worker placement Eurogame retracing Charles Darwin's expedition. Players get to assign workers to study specimens, establish camps, and correspond with museums. The game's standout mechanic is a worker progression system. By placing wax seals on your workers, you permanently upgrade their knowledge, granting them access to more powerful and more complex action spaces. It seamlessly combines traditional engine building with the active leveling up of a workforce. Why all the buzz? A major crowdfunding campaign for the new Oceania expansion is currently dominating the board game news cycle. The hype surrounding the new boards and mechanics have driven the community to revisit the game when the expansion started delivering. Well, that wraps up our top 10 movers this month for the People's Buzz. We're seeing a lot of activity driven by major expansion news and, well, long-awaited fulfillment cycles. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these games on your list is currently hitting your table? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to make sure your games are ranked, make sure to use Pub Meeple every month before the end of the month to rank all the games you played. That way they can possibly show up in next month's podcast. Until next time, peace.